What's up, everybody? Nick Powell's publisher of 1851franchise.com, here with another episode of Meet the Zor. We are talking Woodhouse Spa coming up next. All right, Ben, very excited about our conversation. To frame this, how do you get involved with Woodhouse? How does Woodhouse come into the picture? Give us kind of the lay of the land as a starting point.
Yeah, Woodhouse is it's been around the block. I mean, it started over 20 years ago by a terrific woman there in Victoria, Texas. Where I entered the picture was much more recently in 2020, in the height of COVID. My company bought a Woodhouse as our second brand. We were the franchisor of the Sola Salon Studios concept, and we were really looking for another ace. And we found the Woodhouse, which was a terrific brand at the time. It had 65 units, and just a beautiful brand, purpose-driven brand, and we just felt like it was the perfect fit for us.
In full transparency, I've been interviewing your franchisees, and it's interesting to hear them talk about the turbulence of a new owner coming into play. But all of them have said far exceeded expectations. Obviously, you're making a purchase during COVID, which creates a complexity already, and now you have to build confidence in these franchisees. How did you approach this acquisition, and how have you now come on the other side of this?
Yeah. Well, the founder we bought the company from the founder, and she had nurtured the company with love there in Victoria, but with Victoria, Texas is a relatively small community, and her world experience in terms of how to grow a franchise was limited by what she was really learning on the job. So what we told the franchisees, and I think it's true, is we're prepared and did invest real resources into the team, into growing the team, into bringing on professionals who had been there and done that. And of course, nobody wants to lose their culture, but we thought we could preserve their culture, but also professionalize the team. And I think that's what we've been able to do.
Whenever someone's looking at acquisition, any franchisor or private equity fund is looking at acquisition, they're obviously looking at an upside in the opportunity. When you discovered it, you called it the ACE, you discover this, what is the upside that you saw, and what are you seeing now in actuality?
Woodhouse is a brand that resonates throughout the country. The idea of the Woodhouse is that luxury spa, that resort quality spa there in your own neighborhood, in your backyard, and to provide these wellness services to your local community has been such a powerful message for people who love spa and who really believe in its benefits. So when we saw how purpose-driven it was, we felt like it was a brand that had a lot of room to grow, and a brand that was going to really resonate well around the country.
Automatically, you're thrown into or lumped into the other massage brands, even though that's not all you do. And you can see some of the things that are happening at some of the smaller retail boxes, in that they're adding facials or whatever. There's a million other things that are being added to the structure because either they can't find the labor to compete on just the massages, or they're trying to close out some gaps because they can't hit the financial goals that they want. With Woodhouse, it seems like you have a box that's engineered for any shift in anything that could happen in wellness. Is that an accurate thing that I'm seeing, that you have a lot more flexibility because of the size and the way that the business is structured?
Well, we are a multi-modality. I mean, we are more of a traditional day spa than just, say, the massage chains. So we've always had that component of nails, skin, as well as massage. We've added some, bells and whistles like salt room and infrared sauna. But I don't think that we don't really have plans right now to go more on the medical aesthetic side. This would be anything that where you're going to come out feeling like you've been poked or scraped too hard. We really feel like what we offer is a respite, is a sanctuary against your everyday living, a place where people go and are able to relax and get away from it a little bit. So I think that that's the lane that we want to stick in. That's where our franchisees feel like they're delivering the most value to their community. But as to other modalities, yeah, we could definitely go in that direction, but I think that we would stay away from the aesthetics.
Out of curiosity, with Sola, you have tremendous data on both customer behavior and small business behavior because of the way that the business is structured. Are you able to extract insights of those behaviors and cross-apply that over to Woodhouse? And was that at all a part of the vision when you're making that acquisition?
It really, on the Sola side, it's a much more B2B play. It's amazing how, even though the businesses play in the same space, they're really not the same. We have, what we've realized is that marketing, for instance, is really a B2B play on Sola. It's really a B2C play on Woodhouse. And when you try to combine those two marketing departments together, you're going to get subpar results. And so we've kept those separate, and we feel like that's the way to go forward with that. So it's an example of how the businesses, although can be synergies on the back office, in the front of house, they're really quite different. In terms of learnings from both, no, I don't think that we've ever been able to apply learnings from Sola around the small business in terms of how that consumer at Woodhouse operates.
I mean, for what it's worth, brands that we work with in the wellness space, more so now than ever before, they look at a Sola and say, if we can find real estate near that, we know that there's a built-in customer database that we're going to be able to extract. And the next layer that I'm hearing more so than ever is, what would it look like for us to open up before we get our full brick and mortar, open up in a Sola to build up a customer base so that when we open up our brick and mortar in the community, we can fall into that. And it's interesting to just see the value of the wellness customer that you're obviously creating. And that's why I was curious on the crossover.
Well, so, I'll tell you, Woodhouse I would say, plays in more of the affluent clientele. We really have two main customers at Woodhouse. One is the repeat customer who has the luxury of time as well as disposable income, who wants to receive these services on a regular basis, once every 2 weeks, once a month. And then we have the special occasion, the Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, Girls' Day Out celebration. And those are really more affluent customers. I think wellness often plays in that space. Sola, however, it's really a concept that will play well anywhere. And that's because people get their hair done in all sorts of communities all over our country. And so that's why we have Solas in Rapid City, South Dakota. We have Solas in the South side of Chicago. We have Solas all over. Whereas I think Woodhouse is going to be a more traditional, more affluent consumer play.
Switching gears over to the franchisee, one thing that I've noticed is a very, very large fan of the brand in the franchisees that are entering the system. High net worth individuals have built up wealth, super fan of Woodhouse and saying, boy, I need this in my community. Did you discover that when you were going through your due diligence, just like this fanning out of the business operator that is typically different for the category that you're in, but there's a true fan element to your franchise owners in this?
100%. That described it perfectly. Our franchisees, by and large, are well-traveled, been to luxury spas all over the world, and know what they love, and wanted to deliver these same types of things that they love to their local community. One of the investment thesis that we have, and I think it's coming true now, is that that's not the only franchisee that would enjoy and do well owning a Woodhouse. And so what we're expanding into is more of the professional franchisee who has in the past owned other franchisees. For instance, we have a relatively new franchisee who owned many Duncans and owned other educational franchises. So they had experience with multi-unit ownership, multi-unit operations, but they knew that they were good at building teams. That building teams is the success of owning a Woodhouse. If you're good at building teams, if you have that experience, you're going to do well at owning a Woodhouse.
Not to give you the pat on the back, but I'm going to do it anyway. When I was looking at your LinkedIn, I mean, you talk about like that. That's what you say your specialty is. You build teams around you. So it's interesting to hear you talk about the franchisee. It's aligning with what your vision is as a leader and as a CEO. Does that turn into the governor of who you're looking for from a persona of a franchise buyer?
Absolutely. On the Woodhouse, it's all about the team. Because you'll have a team of, a couple dozen folks who some are full-time, some are part-time. And if you want to be the mayor of your town, if you want to be the person who's really pulling that community together, pulling that team together to produce great results, you're going to do well. Now, as you get experience, and we have some multi-unit franchise owners at Woodhouse, we don't have a lot, but we have some. As you get experience and a little bit of success, you can start to delegate those tasks and start to branch out and focus more on the development, more working on the business rather than in the business. But initially, you're gonna be building that team and sort of setting the culture for your own team.
As I've looked at franchising, I've really studied the franchisee, and the industry calls it a franchisee, but I feel like the layers change based on the investment level. And when I'm looking at a Woodhouse, I wouldn't call it a typical franchisee who doesn't have scale mindset. You're talking about people that have already built some form of wealth and now are looking to build upon it. As you were figuring out, like, how does this brand fit in? Are you recognizing that early on that you're almost talking to business operators or business leaders versus people that are looking to build wealth? These folks have already built it. Now they're just going to keep growing on top of it.
It's a great question. I'll answer it this way. There are some of franchise owners in our group that are like that. They've already built wealth, and now this is something that they're passionate about. But I am always surprised at how hungry the average Woodhouse franchise owner is. They want to build wealth. They want to build generational wealth for their family, and they're in it to win it. This isn't just a victory lap for them. So that it's there are definitely some aspects of that. It's the nature of luxury spa, I think, but certainly there's some savvy business folks who are in this to build wealth too.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because the way that I look at currency is not just in dollars. I look in currency and grit and hustle, and then what is your ultimate outcome? And based on the early part of our conversation, I think your quality of leadership, which could carry significant currency, and how do you get the most out of people and give them a dream or vision on where they're going to go in their life? Do you look at franchisees the same way? Obviously, the financial part is going to be important because you're going to have to be able to invest into this. But beyond it, are you looking at all those intangibles as it goes into the currency of what a franchisee can bring to the table?
I can't agree more. When we meet potential franchise owners, we're making an assessment of them as much as they're making an assessment of us. And that's what's important, because if you don't be discerning with who is nurturing and growing your brand, it could lead to trouble later. So we're looking for, like I said, team builders, people who can motivate, and people who are self-motivated. It's oftentimes hard to find.
Yeah, we've interviewed now over 2,000 different franchise owners. And a few years ago, we said, all right, we already talked to them for PR and marketing and all that other stuff, but let's start talking to them about their journey to becoming an operator. And you start talking to them about what is their dream, and it's interesting. 99.9%, it has something to do with family. It's either I want more time with my family, so I'm going to own my own business, or I want to build something special for my family or some sort of extension. The other thing that is intriguing to me is if you break down why people buy a franchise, there's only two categories that they mention. It's the business model. Can my investment actually give me a return? And it's the culture of the business that I'm buying into. So they look at the CEO and say, is this someone that I can bet on? As an investor, I've always said you bet on the jockey, not on the horse. And so you look for someone, and the widget ends up not being relevant because I'm going to bet on you. How important has it been, especially as you integrate this brand in, to say, look what you get out of Radiance as a cultural side back to the franchise buyer?
Yeah. Especially with a brand like Woodhouse that is a relatively small brand, 65 franchisees, 85 units. It's a culture. The franchisees have their own culture. It's very important to them, and as the franchisor, we have to align with that culture, or else they won't grow the brand, and they won't help us grow the brand. So it's very important to be in touch and in tune with that. I think that we do that. I think that we have the right team in place, and I think that we spend a lot of time on cultural elements with the franchise owners because we want great alignment there. We do have alignment there.
As you think about the vision, obviously, whenever you acquire a brand, there's the long-term vision of what happens at an exit, whether that's a portfolio company or not. But in the near term, when you're looking at where are opportunities, what's the vision, say, for the next 12 to 24 months?
Well, in terms of taking the brand, we're growing the brand. We absolutely have a growth agenda, and that's because there's so much white space for Woodhouse. I mean, we have one spa in California, no spas in Arizona, no spas in Nevada. I mean, we have a lot of running room. We've done quite well in Texas and in the Southeast, but we have a lot more to go. And I think this brand is going to resonate all over the country. In terms of operations, we're always leveling up. We're leveling up our people to help support our franchise owners. We're leveling up our product. We're going to be launching a new menu of services within the next 6 to 8 months. And it's innovation like that that's important to keep us relevant, keep us fresh, and to keep our franchisees feeling like we're aligned.
I do love the white space in the category. Obviously, you're in a very unique situation of being the larger day spa. There's not a lot of competition from the franchise standpoint. Obviously, hotelers could have it, or the high-end hotel systems. There are some one-offs that exist. And so it's interesting why very few have come into the space. Obviously, you're used to being in a space where there's competition that comes in once they sniff out what is potential. Do you see that there's a lot of runway in keeping competition off because you would have to be really financially sound to come into the space or enter the marketplace at this point? And you guys having a first to market brand it's going to be really hard to catch up to you guys.
I think being the largest and the first mover helps. But what really helps is just, again, having a great culture and having fresh and innovative services. So we're always going to have to be able to, the nature of our business is hospitality. We're always going to have to be able to compete well on customer service and hospitality. So any spa, any day spa, that's really their bread and butter.
Let's close on this. If a candidate has watched this conversation up to this point, anything else you want them to know about Woodhouse?
It's a gem. it's a dime in the rough. I'm always surprised that it's not well known.
Yeah, my perception is like you're playing in a league of none. Like you're a league of one. Like you are the champion, and it's going to be very hard to compete with you. And then there's an awareness of what exists in this category. Obviously, in franchising, the broker networks have cannibalized the candidate and will lead them to the brand that they can scale as fast as humanly possible. But for a savvy human being, whether you're a savvy investor or you're just getting into this, just savvy human being, I agree with you. I'm pleasantly surprised at the white space, but also very intrigued why there is so much. It's probably an awareness of the opportunities where I would.
I think so. And I think that the founder did not have a growth mindset. She had a culture mindset, and that's actually helped our brand tremendously. So we owe her a debt of gratitude.
I love it. Well, Ben, thanks for sharing the story on Woodhouse. Appreciate
My
it.
pleasure. Great to
Yeah,
talk.
of course. Yeah, you too. For Ben, I'm Nick. This is another episode of Meet the Zor.